Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very accomplished marketing professional from India, Mr. Sandeep Pandit. Sandeep, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Sandeep is the founder of Kraft Jar, and we're going to talk about Kraft Jar in a minute or so. But Sandeep, before we start about marketing and branding, you are from Kashmir, and you had an amazing journey. Tell me in brief about your journey from Kashmir to where you are today.
Yes, Ashutosh. First of all, as I said, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you face to face. So the journey has been really full of a lot of events. Have seen life from very close corners, as they say. Growing up, I mean, most of us, we know the background, the story to the whole Kashmir issue that has been there for the last 30 odd years, 3 decades now. I was 8 years old when we kind of had to leave our home, and we had to, in the dead of the night, so I still remember those scenes they're pretty much in front of my eyes. And likewise, so many hundreds and thousands of families there to do that. I think that growing up period was kind of full of those struggles and those pain points that we saw, the trauma that we saw during those years. But at the same time, there is not a moment of regret that I have that, oh, why did this happen to me or to my family? So that's definitely not there. So I think those times have made me more stronger in terms of the pursuit that I'm doing now. So that's why I'm here, because of that kind of journey that I've had. One of the biggest strengths that I kind of derived from that journey is that we became, like me and my brother, for example, we became very self-aware from a very growing up age.
Yeah.
So there was no entitlement, or there was no thing that, oh, they have this, we don't have this. We were very self-aware that this is where we are, this is our position, and we have to manage this, and we have to move forward with this, right?
Excellent.
So we were very clear with that. So there was no I think that is the biggest strength, that when I look back and connect the dots, I could see that, I could sense that was one thing that kept me, because in today's day and age, because I speak to a lot of youngsters now through social media and various platforms, there is this validation deficit that they have. Everything has to be validated by someone has to like them, someone has to say, oh, you're great. Growing up, we never had that. Okay, fine, we don't have it. It's as simple as that. Right? So I think that is something that kind of is a great life lesson that I learned through that journey. And another thing that was very clear, what we kind of kept close to us, was that we had to do something extra to kind of move out of that space, right? And our parents were very clear from day one. They were not the entrepreneur mindset people. They were like the hardworking, 17, 18 hours a day. My father worked for 20 years continuously, no Sundays, nothing. But their one funda was very clear, that education is the way out.
Absolutely.
So if you see in the Kashmiri Pandit community as well, we will see education was given more focus. Even after that whole struggle period, we as kids were told, education, study. That is the way out.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So I think that was another facet that kind of helped us as kids to, okay, fine, let us focus on education. Let us see how we can. And that was that became the platform. So my brother went to Pune for engineering, COEP. He did his engineering from College of Engineering, Pune. I did my MBA from Sydney Institute of Management, Bombay. So because we kind of focused on that, so that kind of helped us to kind of, go for these platforms. And then we came to Pune or Bombay or other metro cities.
Fascinating.
Right?
Fascinating.
So that's how we that's how I kind of reached to Bombay.
Wonderful. So Sandeep, let's now move to Kraft Jar.
Yeah.
Tell me about the venture and your motivation to start it.
So I think so. Yeah. So my corporate journey started from 2007. So I joined one of the most illustrious groups of India. I joined Tata Group. I was privileged to join that. from a campus recruitment. But throughout the journey, I could sense that there is something within me that, kept kind of telling me that someday, I would want to start something on my own. And I would like to believe that I had a creative bent of mind. So I would, that's why all my 13, 14 years out of career, I kind of spent in the space of marketing, branding, and that kind of space. So I think so that led to this whole marketing and creative journey was always there, and I had that in my mind that someday I will start something on my own. And I think there came a point when I was with Times of India Group, Radio Mirchi. I was there, and we had accomplished certain things, and in terms of targets and all that stuff I had done. I think there came that tipping point where I thought that, okay, fine, this is my year, and this is my time that, next 5-10 years I want to give it completely dedicated to my entrepreneurial journey. Some ideas I had already kind of thought of what I wanted to do, and so that's how KraftJar kind of came into being.
And what is the kind of work you do at KraftJar?
So during my marketing and branding journey, I kind of learned that there is this gap in terms of, because I work from both client side as well as from the service side, right? So I understood that there is this very small gap where people are so busy, brand managers or marketing managers as marketers were so busy with our calendar and to-do lists, and there are deadlines to everything. We forget this one very basic principle of storytelling. Brand managers or probably agencies, they don't spend too much time together just to sit down and relax and think about what can be the story here, rather than it becomes more like a tick mark exercise, like this is done, this is done, this is done.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of gave that was the genesis of that. Can I start something where we kind of focus on building stories, building experiences from there? I don't want to end up doing, let's say, for example, if I have to kind of nominally give the names to it, to the verticals that we focus on. So we focus on creating branded intellectual properties for brands. So which are long term, which are annual in nature, which have larger scale. But that requires a lot of thinking and sitting with the brands and trying to understand what their ethos is. How can we build it year on year, right? Yeah. So that's where the storytelling comes into picture. And then the second vertical which we focus on, which is doing really good for us, is the audiovisual medium, where we do digital ads, television ads, that kind of stuff. So these are the two broad verticals that we manage and track.
Fascinating. So my next question to you, Sandeep, is that, there are a lot of ingredients that go into building a successful brand.
Yes.
Give me your perspective on this.
So it's a huge topic in itself. To narrow it down, I think from my own experience, I would suggest that there is one thing that I have learned personally is that when you're trying to build a brand, the idea is to connect with the user.
Correct.
If your user perspective is in mind, if your user taste is in mind, how the user is going to react, rather than, I think more often than not, because being creative people, you think that what you have written or what you have created is the best thing out there.
Right.
So somewhere I think that consumer perspective kind of gets overshadowed by that. But I think that should be your first filter, that when I do this, or when I say something like this, or when I post something like this, what is the end user going to be? And keep that feedback in mind. If the user is saying yes, no, like, not like, what is their feedback? I think that is one piece of information, and especially in IPs, because I deal with IPs, intellectual properties, which are long-term in nature.
Yeah.
You have to keep consumer experience in mind. So for example, right now, I can give you a live example. We are doing Navratri IP for one of our clients in Gujarat, which is Gujarat is a hub of where the Navratri festival started. It's a huge cultural festival in India, celebrated across the globe. So while we are designing it, this is our first year, we are doing it for them. The nuances of I can go to the granularity of the details, that where you will create your box office, where the ticket will be given, where how they will come to the venue, and how you decorate I think to the point of that, you realize that you have to create an experience for the user, because that's why he will purchase a ticket, or kind of give you a thumbs up and come next year as well. And tell people about it, that I went there, right? So I think summarize in a summarized way, I think consumer experience or consumer perspective is something that I would rate the highest.
Fascinating. And when I was growing up, there was no digital world, so to speak. But today, with the availability of so much digital content and so many digital platforms and opportunities, what do brands need to do to succeed?
First of all, they have to accept the reality that this is it. This is happening, right? So they need to come out of that old school mindset that this is not happening. They can't shut their eyes and say that okay, this is not happening.
Correct.
That is one. And once you've accepted the fact that this is the reality, and for next 5 years, 10 years, things are going to be really difficult in terms of as far as the digital medium is concerned. Innovations are happening. The new ways the consumer is consuming the content is happening. I mean, you are creating your alternate universes, and things are happening in those universes, right? So the consumption pattern is completely changing over a period of time. While the traditional medium will stay and will kind of go, I won't say it will grow like crazy. It will kind of sustain itself, but there are new things that definitely brands need to really look into. I mean, for example, the closest example, I mean, to everyone could be my mother using WhatsApp. I mean, she's not from that day and age. She has not seen internet. She has not seen a smartphone. She is the biggest user of WhatsApp in my family. And she has adapted it so well, right?
Right.
So I think that fact that you have to accept the reality and see to it how these new technologies and new innovations will help drive the point across, or that drive the brand across. I think that acceptability kind of will solve a lot of issues for the brands.
Very interesting. My next question to you, Sandeep, is on, when I was very young, we used to use superstars, either from Bollywood or from cricket, to be able to endorse brands.
Yes.
Today, there is a new breed of influencers and micro-influencers.
True.
I'd love to get your perspective on how are they adding value or creating a problem for a brand.
Very interesting, actually. Yeah. So I think one, it has given, in fact, it's in the favor of the brand, because brand has got the advantage now saying that, okay, fine, if you are acting pricey, I have somebody else, right? Which is at the 1/10 of your cost and probably has more number of followers than a celebrity or a sports star has, right? So for the brand perspective, I think it's working to their advantage, definitely. But I think there is another perspective, another side to this discussion that I would like to kind of share here. And it's completely my personal opinion that I think social media also gives you the ability to the user to figure out the kind of the hypocrisy that is there, right? So for example, if you see a celebrity talking about, I drink Coke and this is my drink, this is my go-to, and then the second moment he's on Insta showcasing his flat abs and saying that I don't take sugar at all. I mean, then the user is smart enough to figure out, oh, hey, there is...
Correct.
I mean, what are you saying? Here you are endorsing this, and here you are saying don't take sugar. I don't take it at all, right? So I think that has also kind of made audiences a little more smarter and intelligent in terms of figuring out whom to follow and whom to get influenced by to a certain extent. So that's an interesting point of view to look at that as well. But yes, I think to me, brands are at an advantage because while we create these IPs and digital products, there is a requirement from brands that comes in, okay, fine, let's not go for a big celebrity. Can we take 20 influencers and reach out to their audiences through that? So I think, it's an advantage for the brand at the end of the day.
Great response. Thank you. My next question is on the communication. Again, there used to be a 3-minute film which was shown in cinema halls. There were billboards that then became, 30 seconds on radio. Yeah. Now it is 10, 15, 20 seconds on the micro platforms like Takatak and Chingari and Hippie. What is this doing to communication about communicating the attributes of the brand?
I think it has both pluses and minuses. So it's not just one directional think that it has benefited, or there are merits and there are demerits definitely. I think the biggest demerit is that it has made us more short-tempered, and in the sense that we are becoming more indifferent as a user. I mean, the scrolling of the thumb, I mean, on an average, we take around 8 seconds to scroll.
Correct.
And go to the new content. And there is so much, there is ocean of content. Everybody
Correct.
is creating content, right? So I think I see that as a demerit. The patience levels are going down, and we want new content every single time you scroll. So that kind of, I see it from a negative point of view. But from a merit point of view, it also challenges us as storytellers, brands who believe in storytelling. It kind of challenges them that how do you address this, this short form content? How do you address that? Because that is what people are liking right now. That challenges them as from a storytelling point of view. कि उतने में ही कितना बोलना है, कि उसको समझ में आ जाए और आपका impact भी हो जाए. So for example, when one of our clients is Bank of Baroda, and the brief was, how can we create these small format contents but have the entire information of our product with an impact? So there are some things that if we made these 15 seconders, and there are no dialogues. In some, there are no dialogues. You just do some action, and through that action, it is kind of getting the point across that what they want to say about the brand.
Correct.
So I think that is the positive. I see that as the positive side, that it challenges us as storytellers. But on the negative side, I believe it has made us more impatient and slightly indifferent.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great response. And I also want to get your perspective on how our little smartphone, which is in everyone's hand, has now become the primary device for branding, for entertainment, and for a whole lot of other things that we would normally do with our little phones.
Absolutely.
How is this changing the way you do your work?
Okay, so I think I have to connect a small story here. So till 2019, a very interesting fact, I was not on social media.
Wow.
I was only on one platform. I was on LinkedIn. And that too, because I thought, I'm in corporate and I have to create a profile. And so that, so for job prospects and all that. So I was not on social media at all, not on Facebook, not on Insta. But in 2020, when this whole COVID thing happened, and it got me thinking, I think, as I said, I think it depends on what your motivation is or what your intent is. How do you want to utilize it? If you look at it from that point of view, it might be very negative that people are 24/7 on the phone, and it's the first thing in the morning you see is your phone, messages, WhatsApp, whatever it is. I think if you kind of use it from the regulation point of view, kind of regulate how you want to utilize it and what your intention is, then definitely it's a benefit. Then definitely it is beneficial, right? And now that, for example, I have started Instagram, I have started posting more often, and I'm trying to create a community on my personal front. I have realized that I am doing more good rather than bad out of it. So I think it's a necessity. You have to accept the fact that it is there. How you use it, that is something that is up to individual, to each its own, as they say. So
very interesting.
I think the intent is what can be more defining in terms of how you want to utilize.
Very interesting. So Sandeep, I have time for two more questions.
Sure.
My next question is on the younger generation, and that includes you. You're also a millennial. How are millennials changing, and my millennials and Gen Zs who are now getting into leadership roles in most companies, how are millennials and Gen Zs changing the way brands need to think?
I think given the access of the social media, they have become more vocal about it. Before these platforms were not there earlier, right? The communication or the idea that what everybody thinks about a certain thing wasn't clear at all. It was like a couple of mediums, television or print, that would kind of give you the information what people think about it. Right? I think it has brought more transparency in the sense that now you know what people think about a certain thing. You put it out there, and people are there to kind of genuinely talk about it and comment on it. I'm not counting the trolls and the whole brigade who kind of write nasty stuff. Keeping that aside, but there are genuine people who take interest and who write about it, what they think about it, right? So I think that is the biggest kind of advantage that they bring to the table by becoming tech savvy or social media savvy, and kind of share their thought across, so that the brand knows what to correct and what not to correct, right? Where they're going right and where they're not going right. So I think being a millennial or Gen Z is it also kind of allows you to, I think, when you kind of give a couple of pointers to somebody else that you should do this, you should not do this, I think there is a take back also, that you say that, okay, fine, I'm telling him, but then I also need to correct myself as well. So if they are in the leadership position, that kind of pushes you also to behave in a certain way, because you're talking that language on social media, platforms, or while in discussions or something like that. So I think it's if you look at from that perspective, it's creating that balance sort of, where you also think that, okay, fine, I also need to kind of refine my thoughts and refine my behavior in a certain way, because I'm telling somebody else to do it.
Very interesting. And my last question to you, Sandeep, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your incredible journey, educating yourself in an MBA, working for one of the top companies, starting your own company in branding and advertising, what would you say are 3 lessons you want our viewers and listeners to take away?
Okay. So I think few are kind of slightly personal life oriented, and few are from the work experience that I have. One would be from personal experience, would be that don't let that that dream you had someday as a kid or a child die. And more often than not, you might have seen, from your experience, I'm sure you know that more often than not, the whole system is built in a way that more often than not, people tend to kind of leave those dreams behind, right? They have taken new responsibilities, they're moving to a new life, and office, corporate, family, personal relations, whatever you want to call it. I think from my personal experience, I believe that if you keep that flame alive, if you keep that dream alive, sooner or later, you will get the opportunity of executing it.
Well said.
So don't just quit. It is there. It is just there at the next step. So I think that is one big lesson that I have learned from my personal life. And one from corporate, I would, if I had to pick one, would be, I have seen leaders who are top of the game, and I have worked with CXOs and CEOs. I've done that, and in their personal space, I've been there. I've seen them closely. You can be a great leader, and at the same time, you can be nice to people. There is no need to be nasty. There is no need to be, you can still give respect to people. But still be at the A game as the leader, right? So I think that taught me a very good lesson, that, certain leaders whom I worked with, I learned that what not to do, how not to treat people.
Well done.
It's not only about how to, it's also about how not to, right?
Absolutely.
So those pointers are very important. So I think if I have to pick one, so this would be it. So one is keep your dream alive, don't quit. And the second would be nice to people, be kind to people.
Fantastic. And on that note, Sandeep, and your 2 amazing lessons, don't let your dreams die. Don't quit. Be nice to people, no matter who you are or who you may be. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for talking to me about Kraft Jar and the amazing work that you are doing in branding, in digital marketing, and all the other things that you're doing. Finally, thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. And I just want to end with saying that it has been a privilege to, when I received the invite from you, I was really happy that I would be sharing this conversation with you. And at some point, someday, as I shared with you before our call started, that I would like to invite you as one of my guests when I start something like this.
Certainly, would be happy to do
and I would love to learn from your life lessons as well. So
would be happy
thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting
me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.